I think Wynton Marsalis was right when he said that all woodwind players are always second on reeds. And he's right. I mean, reeds are a vital part of our sound production on instruments. So, from any woodwind instrument, you have a reed, from oboes to clarinets to saxophones and double reed instruments, tenor saxophones, baritone saxophones, and so on and so forth. We always have to invest in reeds. Sometime, sooner or later, you're going to have to invest in a reed. And a reed is a vital part of your sound production and tonality and tone quality. So when you're thinking about reeds, really think about what kind of sounds you want. Now, reeds are categorized in certain types of strength. Depending on the brand of reed that you have, whether it be Rico, Vandoren, a plastic cover reed, it's all personal preference really, but the reed strength, it really varies. Now, Rico, for instance, it's Jazz Select's brand. They tend to go up in strengths of medium, hard, soft, medium soft, and of course you have your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, but they also have subcategories in which they go up in different strengths. And basically it's pretty much what you think. A 2 medium would be closer to a 3, right in between the 2 and the 3, 2.5. Okay, but you have Vandoren brand reeds, which also have a strength, but the strengths are measured in 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, and so on and so forth. Basically, depending on what reed you have, you will experience the strength to be different. Even if you have a 3 Vandoren and you have a 3 Rico, there's going to be a difference in between the strengths of the reed. It's all about personal preference and what you want to play. It's rare that a teacher will tell you what brand of reed to play, but they will advise you on what strength to play, especially if you're a beginner. You're more around the 2.5 range. But as you progress, you will start to go into the 3, 3.5, maybe 4, even 5. Classical players tend to have more open mouthpieces. I was in the pit orchestra for my high school band, and what was required of me was more sound, but my saxophone and my the opening of my mouthpiece and reed combination, it was the opening that my mouthpiece and reed provided was not good enough to put out enough sound for me. So what I had to do was, I naturally play on a more open mouthpiece with a small chamber. So I got a reed that had a higher number, which gave it a more resistance. And basically what it did was make my sound a lot brighter, bigger, and a little brighter. Since it's an open mouthpiece, it'll lean towards the bright side of the sound, but it was bigger for the most part. So when the pit orchestra was playing around me and I had the solo, you were able to hear that it was a saxophone playing. When you have classical pieces you like to play, if you're playing Bach or Beethoven, and this is in my opinion, when you're playing Bach or Beethoven, you tend to need the freedom, the blowing freedom, but you also need the sound. Most classical players like a darker sound, which would, I guess, lead to a reed also with a higher resistance level, maybe a 3 or 4 or 5, depending on what mouthpiece you have. And it's all really subjective. No one really is going to open your case and look at what reed you have. No one's going to say, oh, you can't have that. All people are going to look at your fans, your teachers, your your mentors, all people are going to look at or listen to is what sound you produce and how comfortable you are making the sound that you love. So basically, it's all about personal preference. You never really have to stop and force yourself to get a read just because somebody says you have to. Most people won't really ask you, to get a certain read unless you're struggling. Like if you're a beginner, you're struggling on this read, your teacher might advise you to go down or up enough. Or you're too good. You have a good sound, but your sound is not big enough. So your teacher might tell you to get a 3 instead of a 2.5. So it's basically when you get to the point where you can be flexible and play on each reed at a certain mastery, then you can, kind of shuffle around with, hey, I can use this reed for this and I can use your reed for that. It's pretty much your opinion. And the next video will be on mouthpieces. So I can tell you guys about mouthpiece and reed combinations, because those two, mouthpieces and reeds, are the vital, they work together. They're vital parts of your sound. So, furthermore, we're going to talk about the brands of the reeds. Now, you have certain brands that yield their sound to certain genres of music. Vandoren, they have a traditional brand, which is very good. It has a very big quality when it comes to sound. It has a really, really good sound quality when you get traditional reeds. They're good for classical. So when you are really playing those classical pieces, try to get a lighter Vandoren reed. Something that's not too heavy, too resistant. Maybe a size 3 reed or 2.5, because generally Vandorens tend to need processing. Even David Sanborn says this in all of his Vandoren clinics and podcasts and videos. He always says that his Vandoren reeds need processing, and it's true, because Vandoren reeds, they just tend to be a more resistant brand. They tend to require more of your efforts to break them down, because of course every woodwind instrumentalist knows that you need your saliva, the enzymes in your saliva, break down the reed and get the reed in playing condition. So you really need to think wisely when you buy your reeds and how you go about putting moisture to them, and take care of your reeds. It's really important. But Vandoren tends to be a more rigid type. You're gonna have to put a little effort into breaking them in. Let's see. Rico's, they say they're America's most popular reed. I guess they are. They're the cheapest reed. And America, if we could get things for cheap, we tend to do that. Rico, they do have, a quality reed. It's hard to say. For beginners, you would love it, but for people who are trying to have a yielding tone, a tone that kind of sways a certain way, like say if I wanted a jazz tone, I would need a Rico Jazz Select to have that tone. The traditional Rico reed it's okay. It'll get you through, but it's not really worth it. It's just too easy to play certain notes, and it's too easy to make a sound. You have to, in my opinion, you have to work to cultivate your sound, and then put a little vibrato. In Rico, the sound is just there. It's just there. It won't change. You can't really use your embouchure to change what the Rico reed, the traditional reed, gives you. But when you start to really change your reeds, you can look deeply into Rico, and they have sub brands. They have the Hemkey, which is a darker reed. It tends to be a little bit darker, gives you a darker sound, more like a traditional jazz artist. and then you have Rico Jazz Selects. Now those come in filed and unfiled. Filed gives you more of a piercing tone. It is more of a controlled tone, and unfiled is more of an uncontrolled tone. It's pretty simple as that. But I like the uncontrolled tone where I can pretty much manually control my tone and how it, how it's supposed to be heard. But yeah, that's pretty much it on reeds. You can get any type of reed, but it's really up to you. You have to really experiment. I would advise you to go to somewhere that they allow you to play the reeds, or buy one reed in the box, and then you're able to play it without spending $30 to $40 on a box of reeds that you don't know what they sound like. But fair warning, reeds aren't always going to be perfect. Not every reed is perfect. Reeds are made of cane or plastic, or and they have different things in them, and they react like wood. So wood is not perfect. It can come in inconsistencies, and reeds can come in inconsistencies as well. So just because you have a new reed doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be at optimum quality when you get it. It's not naturally possible. You're going to find good reeds, and you're going to find subpar reeds that are, you might want to not play them at a gig, but you have to really play reeds to know reeds, and that's just that simple. This is Devin from Project Sax, and